As I'm talking to business owners or just hearing comments about people downtown, you know, somebody had said just the other day, oh, I didn't realize Manistee sidewalks were in this condition. And just through the winters and stuff, they just get worse. So good, good. No, I don't have a whole lot right now. Just really positive stuff. Downtown is busy. Merchants are happy. Customers are happy. I had a really long conversation with some customers yesterday that were just asking about things that they're seeing around Manistee and just putting that huge positive spin about it. And of course, you know, we hear, oh my gosh, I just hope Manistee's not going to grow like as big and as fast as Traverse City. And I just assure everybody that the planning commissions to be of Manistee wouldn't let that happen, that we're very diligent about making sure that things grow at the right pace, that we're not going to, anyways. So that's it. September 20th is going to be our first merchant meeting in face meeting. So I'm really looking forward to that. We do have our August meeting coming up next Tuesday. That one will be via Skype, but our first face-to-face. Everybody downtown in the DDA district will receive a invite, a personal invite. I'm going to go hand out invites so that they know. So anybody downtown or the DDA board members, anybody that would like to come to that meeting just to get to know new faces, hopefully, you know, Fricanos will be there. Well
nested.
Thank you. Well nested. I'm just hoping to see some new faces. P&L, Sandwich, and just really hoping that people will be engaged with this. So.
Can I just ask a couple questions, Deanna? When's your August meeting, please?
Our August meeting is next Tuesday.
Which is the 16th, I think.
The 16th.
There you go. It is
And
the 16th.
where is your in-face merchant meeting going to be held at?
It's going to be here.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be this meeting room or
okay, thank you.
Over, but we'll.
I'll take care of that. I don't know yet either.
Okay, but we'll establish a place for it, and it'll go on the invitations for sure.
Thank you.
Sidewalk sales this Friday and Saturday.
Sidewalk sales are this Friday and Saturday. Yes, everybody spread the news on that because that'll be exciting. What else is this weekend? Isn't it the like Ludington County Fair is going on?
I don't know.
I was kind of looking at things going on around the area. I believe it's the Mason County Fair.
On the Pier 5K is Saturday.
And the pier,
yeah.
So there's like things going on this weekend that'll be bringing
the
people.
Catamaran Racing Association is this weekend at First Street.
So look for a busy weekend because the weather's supposed to be gorgeous.
Thanks, Deanna.
Yeah, I have one
Sure.
more question for you too. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
you,
you're fine.
ma'am. I know you mentioned the merchants meeting. Was it last month that is that just for merchants or is it for anybody? I'm thinking like the college, right? We're not merchants, but
No, you can hop on those meetings by,
okay.
yeah. Do you
Awesome.
get the invites to it?
I don't know who they go to. I'll ask.
And I'll
Okay.
put you on.
Yeah, let's do that. The more, the more
Yeah.
input, the more people are engaged in this, the stronger we're gonna be. So, yeah, and the
there-
college would be really a great addition, for sure.
Is there anyone from the college on those already, Mark?
No,
Okay.
I haven't seen anyone.
We'll get you an invite. And I think Christina, and I mentioned this before, the name change, Christina changed the name to be more inclusive.
Correct.
So it's downtown businesses, yada,
Okay.
yada. I can't even remember
Downtown,
this now.
yeah,
But-
thank you. And I really
Um,
need to, old habits.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Beautification. Kelly.
Nothing new to report.
Nothing new.
Mark, where do you want to talk about the appropriations proposal?
That will be in the new business section.
Okay. Thank you. Old business, maintenance agreement status. I don't think there is a,
We're going to ask Jeff for a report.
oh, sure, sorry. I was thinking about the agreement itself.
You didn't ask for a report, you asked me to attend.
Okay. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah.
Sure. I've watched your last month's meeting last week, so I guess I just made a few notes on here. There was some discussion about parking lot signage and how to identify the people that, that we've got all the parking a block away. Several years ago, through the direction of the DDA, we did put up signs that say public parking. Barry, if you remember, there was 42, 45, quite a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have ordered a mutt mitt station for down by, I think it was the art park, is where it was requested. So we've got that on order. Lots of discussion on the planter boxes, so do you mind if I just take a little bit of time with that?
Sure.
So there's, again, 45, almost 50 planter boxes that were constructed and built with the original Streetscape in 99, 2000. Those are all powder-coated boxes. They've been deteriorating for 22 years. And probably 5 years ago, when the DDA had a design committee, we had a lot of discussion about a lot of the portions of the streetscape they're old and they need to be refreshed. The DDA committed funds to repaint all the trash cans that were downtown. And then with the DDA's permission, I said if there's any leftover funding, let's start doing the planter boxes and then we can do those incrementally over the years. So in that round, we were able to repaint 9 of them. The DDA also bought, I think, a dozen liners because the liners are 22 years old. They're plastic, they're cracked and damaged. And then the intention was for future funding to go forward and incrementally add, 10, a dozen a year. And that included resetting brick pavers downtown. Discussion was on repainting the light poles downtown, so there was a number of those things. And then the funding on that was paused by the DDA board with the idea that if we're going to redo or if we're going to relook at our entire streetscape, let's not invest in items that may not continue forward. Is that fair?
Sounds right. Some of the funding for some of those items was included in the maintenance agreement, but the refinishing, I don't think was. The refinishing and purchase of new planters.
So we had 9 available. For well over a decade, the program has been that the DDA director would contact all of the storefront owners, merchants, and get a list of who wanted benches and who wanted the planter boxes. And then the DPW simply prepped those boxes, put them out, and then whoever requested them planted them and then cared for them. This year that program changed and there were locations that were selected and some uniformity on how they were planted. And by the way, I think they're beautiful. But once those were placed out, then there were some merchants that didn't want them in front of their store. There were some that said, well, I wanted some and I didn't get one. So we ended up going out there 4 times and moving and adding. And so as Kelly reported, when she requested that they be adjusted again, it was my request that we not move them mid-season for the 5th time and then create kind of that stir. So I think there's, 14, 16 of the boxes that are out there. So there's more than what we've got repainted. So some of them are still pretty chipped up and in rough condition. From our perspective, from the Public Works perspective, we don't really have any skin in the game. We'll put them anywhere. We'll put as many as you want out there. But I just like to do it once and be done with it and then move on. So however that gets adjusted in the future is, I don't have any issues with that. The evergreens are finally all done.
Jeff?
Sure.
What was the reasoning? Why didn't some merchants want them outside their businesses?
I didn't speak with them personally. Some wanted one and didn't get one. Some, I think, had different plans. Some probably thought that they needed to do the maintenance on them. I don't know if you have any more feedback on that, but I know that because we take the calls for them.
Yeah.
So each of those instances we related at the time. It was in between Christina and Carmen and before before Mark, so we were working directly with Stacy on that.
I want to say too that this year there was a little bit of confusion as to how it worked, because years prior, people got, business owners got to put in their request, whether they wanted a planter box or a bench. And this year, it was strategically placed. And so I just think that there was probably a few more calls this year because that process had changed.
So I think that your merchant meetings are the perfect place to just explain whatever that program is and educate people.
And I was under the assumption that we were talking about it in merchant meetings and that it was all ironed out. I didn't know that it was.
I don't know.
Whatever the process is for next year, we'll make sure it's really clear to everybody.
I would just say that in regards to the merchant meetings, it absolutely was covered in the merchant meetings, but not everyone
Right.
attends or apparently is invited. So, I mean, we need to do a better job of being inclusive with our process. I fielded calls too, and Stacy stepped in and took on some of that too, but we'll have to be more inclusive this coming year to make sure that everyone requests one gets a notice. But I think we had some gaps there, and clearly some people were not happy with where they went to.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify that. I mean, last meeting, I kept hearing transparency, but DPW takes the blame for all of this stuff. And sometimes it's appropriate and sometimes it's not. And we just try to do whatever you guys want us to do. And so we're trying to work with you, but when those people call, they call us. And so more education, more communication on any of those changes, I think just would help smooth things out.
Can I just real quick, so moving them repeatedly while they're full with dirt, does that at all have a problem with the structural integrity or the paint chipping or the plastic liners or anything like that, or?
It's more on the guys than it is.
Okay.
The boxes are fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It seems like we could, seems like, sorry, it seems like we could have a request approval form and work with your office way in advance, so this is set up by the
Well, this was different though, and I mean, they're beautiful right now.
No,
And we're watering them, but they were, can you explain how you did that this year?
I'm just suggesting moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that if we have a form or something that's done and we work with your office way in advance, you guys have it, so when you're ready to put them out.
That's how it was in the past.
Yeah.
The DDA director would just simply email us a list, and once we got that list, we knew how many to prepare. We got them all at once, and in fairness, there was always 2 or 3.
Sure.
That went, oh my God, I forgot, can I get one? And so we always prepared a few extra,
Yeah.
just in case.
I think that's a reasonable request.
Do we know how many planters we need for next year?
No, that's a conversation we need to have.
So, like this fall? So at some point this fall, there will be a number on the planters. So long as it's not, 50, can you include that when you get it into the summer, into the winter planning?
The number is not an issue for us.
Well, but some of them would need to be replanted.
But to be repainted,
Right.
If the DDA halted funding to refurbish some of these things, I don't want to spend money to refurbish them if they're not going to be used in the future. If you guys think it's safe that they're going to long-term be in the downtown, then we can do that.
Okay. So that needs to be a communication to Jeff when we have that plan.
Okay.
So evergreens, they're all gone. As far as I know, they're all gone.
I'll find more, Jeff.
That's okay.
I'm just kidding.
And we didn't understand that you wanted them out of the parking lots too. So we did get them all off the Riverwalk. The parking lots were quite a challenge. Plucking them was pretty easy, but when the root structures came up, they took everything with them, all the brick pavers. So we've just mulched them now and reset the brick pavers where they were damaged. I don't know if there's if part of your streetscape is to come up with what might go back in those. But anyway, we've crossed that off our list until Kyle finds a spot to put them back on. I also wanted to explain, and there's never been a good fit on what our agreement is. And the agreement that the city and the DDA has right now, and I wish Karen was here because she was part of that committee and has a lot of background on it, but the committee that worked on this agreement started to get very detail oriented on what to do and what the value was. And then it pulled back and it said, you know, we need to break this down into more generalized terms. Because at least my point was, I don't want to have 10 things that the DDA says you must do, but then adds 2 things and then we got to do a change order or price that out. To me, that's just, it doesn't get the job done, it just wastes office time. So it was really structured by 3 levels of service, and I'm trying to find where that verbiage is. Basic services, enhanced services, and then accelerated services. So, and we can have copies made for everybody, but it doesn't really detail what is expected by the DDA and what is performed by the Public Works. So what I have given to my staff every year is the actual agreement that the DDA used when it hired Jason Thompson Landscaping to do all the maintenance downtown. And then Pratt Prolon was the next contractor that was hired. And then those costs got to be too much, or at least the DDA was concerned about those elevating costs to contract that work out. So back when Tom Kaminsky was the interim DDA director, that's the time frame. The contract was modified away from a contractor and put to the city of Manistee, and a dollar amount was put on that. And so there's basic services in here that we use as kind of our outline to provide in the downtown. Now, there's always requests to do more than that, and I think the current agreement allows us to do those extra services and not have to charge or worry about the money component of that. But as you guys know, boards change, people change, perceptions change, and expectations change. And for decades, I don't think the city or a contractor has ever met the expectations of the current DDA board. So it'd be really nice if we could figure that out, because we want to do what you want to have done, but we need to know exactly what that is. And there's some things that we haven't performed well on, and we are. I've made some changes internally to make sure that we're doing that. But I can tell you that right now, on a weekly basis, we try to do it on Tuesdays, is we have a couple of our summer staff that walk the river walk with a blower. They pick up garbage. They haven't been doing a good job pulling weeds, so we've made that a priority. When you see it, get rid of it. But they do that on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, we do the streets, basically blow off all the sidewalks. And we do that on Thursdays because before businesses open, we have an employee come in real early on Friday to clean the streets and sweep that before any of the cars are downtown. And then as people report stuff to us, it comes from council, it comes from DDA board members of the public, but as we are aware of things, or things even that we see, that we're attending those as well. What else? I know Kyle had asked about this quite some time ago, but there's Still some barricades down at the intersection of Greenbush and River. There was some brick pavers that sunk, and when we went to investigate it, there's actually a vault underneath the sidewalk still that houses the water service and fire suppression to the Jack Pine building. So I got a report from our engineers on their recommended fix, and so we're lining up our stuff to we're basically gonna have to pour a wall and then do a bunch of backfilling and stuff, but we'll have that addressed here soon. The only other thing off the top of my head that is at the request of some council members, and it went through the city manager, we installed another yield sign on Washington Street to try to help some of that pedestrian vehicle conflict in front of the brewery. I've looked at it with the engineers and would prefer to put it where people are actually crossing mid-block. The problem that we have is when you align, and if you just drive by, it's pretty obvious, when you align where the sidewalk and the door to the brewery is, across the street, you have the two driveway entrances into the DDA parking lot. There's no safe landing there to get people on the other side. So there is a crosswalk at the intersection. The handicap parking is adjacent to that crosswalk. People don't go down that extra 60 feet. They want to cut, but we're just hoping that at least that sign maybe makes the pedestrians a little bit more aware that there is a crossing there, but at least I think it'll show traffic and get in the heads of traffic as they're crossing through there. And with that, I would take any questions that you have or concerns.
Could I make a suggestion? We need to think about another crosswalk down by the marina. You know, that's, you know, they hit
Downtown Delights right
they
there.
hit downtown delights and hit the gas.
Bruce, do you mean a crosswalk or a crosswalk sign? Is there a crosswalk there?
There's a walk,
I'm
there's not a
sorry.
sign.
Okay.
I was talking about
A sign?
the sign.
Okay. We don't have any more, do we?
I have one.
Do you?
Yep.
Is it a spare or you, okay.
I ordered an extra
Okay.
after we saw some of them getting hit.
Yeah.
But I have one right now, and we'd be happy to put it there. That was part of the discussion, and I
Yeah.
think we held back because we were trying to keep under the $2,000 allocation that the DDA had, but I've purchased it and I have it available if you'd like it installed there.
Well, what do you think?
I think it would be,
Okay.
Downtown Delights from what I've read, what I've heard is kicking butt this year. The marina's doing well.
Mhm.
And now you've got Fracano's, so you've got a pretty good hub of pedestrian traffic there. So I would think it would be a good idea.
They definitely slow down traffic,
Do they?
for sure.
I was going to
Okay.
ask if they were.
And quite frankly, the new style, mounting them into the ribbon of the crosswalk, has made them so much more resilient. The one at Division Street is the one that seems to get clipped the most, but that's because you've got big turning
Yeah.
that happens there, and people think they can get all the way around and hit it. They're scratched, but they're not damaged. The old ones that sat on the rubber bases, every time they got nicked, would rock, and then they would move out of the center of the lane, which would make them a traffic hazard. So I'm pretty happy with them right now.
Okay. Well, you think it's appropriate. I think we should put one down there. They definitely help.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bruce. Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
New business, new invoices. I'm blanking here, what is this?
Okay, well, Kelly can help, but if you recall, the last couple meetings, and certainly the last meeting, we wanted to kind of formalize appropriations requests
Oh.
and proposals. And so what we've done, and you have something here that Kelly created that asked for an appropriations request and kind of followed that guideline. So One, it tagged in the first paragraph from the bylaws, because it's easiest for us to access and read, the purpose of the DDA that this appropriation request follows. It also then identifies the line of the budget. There's a $20,000 piece here for projects and repairs. So that is in here as well, DDA projects, and then explains a little bit about what it is. So I also have the Larson's quote or invoice we can pass around as to what the work is. But this follows what we were asking and gives us an opportunity as a board to have a discussion about these in depth and make sure that there's some transparent discourse. So Kelly, is there? That's the nuts and the bolts. You have the artistic flair to describe what we're trying to do. How would you describe that, or
The
how?
Larsons would have the artistic flair, and it's all proposed on what they would plan. I do have a question though regarding the area behind Manistee and Marina. I've now heard that that's not the city's, and you can't plant there. Is that true? It's the long mulch strip behind the marina.
I haven't looked these up in quite a while, but the city doesn't own any property down there except at the end of Poplar Street. So each property has an easement for the Riverwalk, and it has a general, it doesn't have an exact dimension, it just basically says kind of where the Riverwalk is. So I'm not sure if, unless the property owner objected, I'm not sure why that bed couldn't or wouldn't be part of the Riverwalk.
There's a narrative for some reason, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but the narrative is that the original developer of that property did not grant an easement to the city. I don't know if that's true, because it's been maintained, it's part of the Riverwalk improvement, and it's part of what you have landscaped in the past as well.
Well, a little separate issue, but I know there's new owners.
No, not new owners,
It's new management.
just a new man.
Correct. New management that is trying to fix some of the issues that are going on there. So one of them was parking. The DDA, and so we pulled the original agreements. I'd have to refresh to know exactly what they said, but like I was dealing with the parking issue in the deck. And when that building was renovated and the parking deck was constructed, the DDA contributed funds towards that project in order to get public parking at the street level. And I would think that agreement might address.
I've read that agreement recently, and it does provide some public parking spots in the upper deck, but it does not refer to anything in terms of landscaping or the Riverwalk easement.
There's no easement?
Okay, I don't think it's in that agreement, but at least from how I read it. But anyway.
Was Ben working with George on that or something?
Right, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
That I wasn't aware.
So the Manistee Inn is responsible for that property?
that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
So the bill just went down.
What's that?
The bill just went down, proposal.
Okay.
And I hate to interrupt, but I'm pretty sure that we budgeted some money in the current budget for landscaping
Yeah.
along the Riverwalk. You're aware of that, okay?
You as in the DPW?
This city.
Yeah, okay.
But I know it was supposed to be done, but.
No, it's fine.
I also budgeted I have money budgeted to fix some of the brick pavers that I don't think should wait a year or two. We also, and this was through meetings between the city and yourself, and I don't remember who else was there. Members of the DDA. might have been Stacy and Kyle. But I have some money budgeted for starting to repaint the lights, the street lights.
Okay.
The clock. I budgeted $3,500 for clock repairs. It's actually gonna be about $9,000. So I'm gonna shift some money, but we already have that approved and it's in the company's system. And they didn't commit, but I think by the end of the month, we'll be able to tell time at Oak Street. And then I've also I put a $45,000 in to start figuring out how to do some long-term repairs to the fountain. I'm not confident that that's enough, but there's a whole lot of plumbing issues with that structure, and it needs a full rehab.
Kyle. Jeff, I'm glad, one, that you're here. I don't want to ambush anybody, including the DDA board and the chair with this question, but I should have mentioned it earlier and then brought it up. You're talking about the budget for repairs. What would you do with a request for a new dumpster corral? I know that the DDA's paid that in the past, but the issue is that Fricano's and the Elks and Downtown Delights all have, they're new. I mean, not so much the Elks, but we've got a whole new restaurant thing going on down at the end of River Street. And they have to haul it all the way back up to the PNC Bank. What would be your approach to that? And I know that we're talking about budget items. How would we work with DPW on getting a new dumpster corral?
The two magical pieces to that are location and funding the capital improvement. Probably, well, because we went through it the first time, finding a location, a private piece that it could be constructed on, I think would be the biggest challenge. And then, depending on the size, whether it held one, 2, or 3 dumpsters, would just be a function of how expensive they are.
And possibly a grease trap, a grease dumpster too. I mean, that's the other request that I've fielded.
Well, that's a private issue that's usually specific to a building. We don't have any grease dumpsters in the public right now.
So I've done some preliminary work we're going far afield so the chair can shut me off if he wants.
I don't know where to begin.
I've done some work in trying to locate a place down on the west end, and I'm striking out. I really am striking out on where to put it. There might be a few more private landowners to talk to, but it's probably not ideal. So I don't know. I think we probably could have some longer conversations. And my understanding from one conversation was that the DDA paid for the dumpster corral with the last round of whatever it was before my time, probably our time, but as a chamber. But I think that's another thing that's out there, right? So, all right. So
yeah, the desire of the DDA at the time was to get the totes and the trash off the street to keep it beautiful. So there was an ad hoc committee formed between the DDA, City Council, Republic Services, and the group studied how are other communities handling refuse in a downtown area. And we looked at all kinds of places up and down the shoreline. We looked at what the different options were, what the different costs associated with those were, and it was decided that finding some centrally located places to put corrals and then try to make it as convenient as possible. I mean, there's been a few complaints, but it's actually been, that program has actually worked pretty well. I know that, for a restaurant to haul a lot of stuff up there can be a challenge, but we do have trailers at each of the dumpster corrals, And there's a combination lock that we can provide that they can use. I don't think they've been used that much, but they use once in a while.
Trailer, what's the size requirement for a corral?
Depends on the dumpster size, but the single ones are, like we have down at the beaches, I couldn't tell you the dimensions of that offhand.
Okay.
It's in the neighborhood of 15 feet wide-ish for a single.
Probably.
Did you look at the marina?
No.
I looked a couple times and felt like it would be appropriate maybe to walk down there with Mr. McCullough and look at the west end of the marina.
Parking lot.
Take a look at the east end.
Okay.
Where the dumpster, there is a row, they drag all the totes up the hill, and there's a row out there frequently.
Yeah.
And I can understand, Fricano's frustration, because, he looks to his right, out his right door, and there's a row of totes out there, and he's got to drag his trash
He's
2
part
blocks.
of that row right now.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay,
We gave him an exception until we can figure this out longer.
good, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and
But right where that row is,
Yeah.
that seems like a good place for a
That's exactly the look
corral.
the DDA was trying to get out of the downtown. And Kelly's expressed to me, those blue totes down on the Riverwalk look terrible. She's right. But how do you, to be able to transport them conveniently to the top of the hill is, so I wish I could solve that issue too and make that marina look better. So,
We have a appropriations request.
Yeah.
We should get back to.
Let's go to the appropriations
Sorry.
proposal. That's okay.
That's my fault.
No, I should. So I guess my question in regards to this would be, I believe this would come out of a line item that we had $20,000 budgeted for.
Correct.
And I don't think we know what is left in that line item right now.
Not this morning, no.
Okay. Any thoughts, questions, discussion on this?
I have a question. Maybe we can go back and look at Larson's thing and revise it for the scope of work, because you said that, well, that's too high now. Could we go back and bring it back next month and kind of look at a better scope? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. But that's
Long
fine.
time coming on this, so we don't want to drag our feet.
Well, we are dragging our feet.
We are.
Should
Not
we-
intentionally, but.
Should we go to the Manistee Marina and see if they want that, or is that something that we don't want to spend money on then?
I would say if it's private property, we can't or shouldn't. But,
I think they were talking about native plantings, so it's
Mhm.
not like they don't want to do anything with it.
yeah,
And then the other is the entrance to the Riverwalk behind the museum. Is that outside our district?
behind the museum, behind the,
at Tamarack?
On Water Street?
oh, yeah,
Or
that's
Tamarack?
definitely outside of our, it's not outside of Jeff's district, it's just
Yeah.
outside of the DDA.
Okay. So so then all we're talking about then is the 3-tier garden behind the old Chamber of Commerce public net. That's
Okay.
really the only area we're speaking of.
Okay.
And that's only 3,000.
Does the Riverwalk now fall under the Parks
Yes.
Commission? Okay. So I think we need to relook at that contract with Larson's, modify it. And how does that relate to this appropriations proposal, or does it not?
The appropriations proposal should remain the same, except for the amount of requested funds. That will be reduced down as the scope of work is shrinks because of the Manistee and Marina situation,
Okay.
et cetera.
So this may be pushing it, but could we swap out some landscaping for Marina then instead of what we had planned previously? There's a lot of overgrown gardens in the Marina that could be updated, pulled and updated.
I think, I like the idea. I think typically the DDA has sort of stayed out of the marina because it's an entity separate, it's within the district, but I mean, I'm not opposed to talking about it, but we've typically tried to leave the marina to the marina. Any thoughts on that, Jeff? We haven't.
I agree with both of you.
Okay.
Marina needs a lot of refurbishment on the landscape side.
It's not typically something that we would have budgeted for, I think.
Is there a reason for that?
Does the marina have their own budget, or is,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, the Marina is an enterprise fund,
okay,
so expenses equal revenue. And ever since the building was rebuilt or constructed, the Marina's been carrying a heavy debt load and honestly can't even pay its way. So it gets an appropriation. It actually has been loaned money from the oil and gas fund and is paying that back at a slower rate than what the capital improvement debt is.
okay.
So when landscaping around the marina is discussed, it's not DDA, is it parks? Where is it discussed?
The ground maintenance would come out of the parks budget.
But which committee? Is it just, before the city council? So if I wanted to jump up and down about the landscaping at the marina, it's not the DDA that I come to and jump up and down. Is it the council or the Parks Commission?
Probably either or,
Okay.
depending on how loud you wanted to, or how high you wanted to jump up and down.
But if the DDA had some extra funds, because we're not going to do everything that was outlined in that Larson's contract, it could be a really nice gesture to do so, but then when do we, like, once you do it, then when do you ever say, okay, now we've done what we're gonna do, and now it goes back to the Parks Committee? Like, when do you put it back? I mean, I think it's part of the downtown, is people are walking down the River Street, they're walking through a marina area too, and so it benefits everybody for that to look beautiful. But then at one point you'd say, all right, we did it in 2022, we did it in 2023, when does the marina take it back over? So that time.
Well, it's public land and it's within the district, so I don't think you're prohibited to do it. It's just a matter of what the board's priority is on where they want to spend the money.
Yeah. I want to move back towards this proposal and the Larson's contract, because that's what's on the agenda to discuss. Do you have any idea, Kelly, what the portion behind the old chamber building, what that would take to do?
Financially?
Yes,
Yeah, 3,000.
3,000.
Yeah. It was 2,000 something, but, it's been a while, so I'm sure it's gone up.
Okay.
3,000 rough.
Can you summarize to the board what that looks like?
Well, we took care of the lower tier. We took out all of the sumac and repositioned the daylilies that were in there so they could, because they were being choked out by the sumac. But the second and the top tier are overgrown. I mean, it can't be redone.
Okay.
So it needs to all be pulled, and then Larson's would come in and plant what they have proposed. I'd like to see ornamental grasses on the top, so the parking lot is sort of shielded from the Riverwalk. But they had a nice design.
Okay. Is any portion of
And
the,
that's the $3,000?
Yes.
Jeff, is there any portion of that you guys could handle? pulling or anything like that? To sort of lay the groundwork for replanting or re-landscaping?
Potentially. I've been trying to figure out how best to explain this, but we can do anything.
I know.
And we can do everything, but we can't do everything.
Right.
So,
I guess I'm thinking about it from a partnership standpoint. If you guys could do a portion, maybe we can pay for the rest. And but I can't picture what it looks like, and so I'm just throwing ideas out there.
But just to understand, the 3,000 is just for the plantings. It's not for clearing out
Yes,
what's
it
already
is.
there.
It's for the excavation of what's already there and then.
Okay. Do you know roughly what the breakdown is?
Yeah, it's in the proposal. That's the whole top 2 tiers. So it would go from excavation to design.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you can plant late fall, if they would survive.
Okay.
I don't know. So we might be looking at spring then.
So it's just these top 2 that are the removal, right?
Yes.
It's around 250 for the preparation.
Okay. So a much smaller portion. Okay.
Less than 10%.
Another thing to consider, I don't think that's going to be accessible next year. I think the river walk below the bridge is going to get shut off during the bridge construction.
Oh.
It just popped into my head.
How long is that going to be now?
The tentative schedule that I saw
Why do you
last
suggest that?
had the project starting in April with full detour and closure of the bridge. I think it was April through September, then reopening until December, and then closing December through the spring into 24.
However, like the other one said, that is a public parking lot. You kind of do want that to look right.
The parking lot would be, I would think the parking lot would be accessible and you could get down to the river. I just don't think, I think they're gonna close below the construction so that you can't, that parking lot won't link it to the river walk on the west side of the bridge.
But you could still park there and still have the access to those gardens if
Yeah.
if you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to wait till spring 24 to do this proposal?
Sure, why not?
Well, I mean,
I'm not trying to kill it,
I'm just asking a question. I mean, maybe just pulling everything out and leaving it until after bridge work is, I don't know, I'm just asking a question.
It would be up to the board.
Well, we don't need to, we just wouldn't approve it, essentially. But I'm a little uncomfortable personally approving it without knowing what's in the budget and approving this without knowing what's left in the budget. Not that I'm trying to hold it up, but there's enough stuff going on here between the bridge closure, this 8,000 out of 20,000, and I don't know what's left in the budget.
I mean, I think that what Deanna said about the gesture with the marina is more appealing to me, given the comment that Jeff made about, you know, the reminder that the bridge work was going to be done.
Would you like me to revise the proposal then with a different idea or?
In a different location?
Yeah.
You got some ideas?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that would be more appropriate, given what we've just discussed. I think
I
that'd
really-
be more noticeable.
I've been sitting here thinking about this. I really think that the landscaping around the marina ought to be on the table.
Would you be willing to
Deanna's right.
Martians?
That, you know, it's part of the way that the Riverwalk looks is part of the DDA's mission.
Nobody walking down the Riverwalk goes, oh, that's marina property, that's city
Nobody
property.
cares.
Exactly.
Right. Nobody cares.
No.
So.
No, I agree, it's never been,
I know.
yeah.
I know, and then, but then the process would be, you know, the same that we follow for everything else. It's, you know, we kick in for improvements. Once that improvement is done, it goes to the DPW and the council. It's part of the maintenance of the infrastructure. We hunt around for improvements to be made. You know, why not the marina?
Yeah. When I see the marina, I see mostly things that are just overgrown that need to be pulled. Is that something that needs to be budgeted for, or is that just time and labor for your staff?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. And Kelly and I had some brief conversations about that, but, you know, like you mentioned the benches that are there. You know, they can't be power washed. They're probably be on scrubbing the tables and stuff. So they may need new wood. Well, if you walk through that whole marina, all the treated lumber that was put in the 70s when that thing was built is rotted. It needs to be redone. So I think it's fast approaching the way that the North River Walk is, where it needs a complete go-through. But that's years into the future. So I do think there's some interim things that we can do to thin, trim, put some color and some beautification in there until we can get to that long-term, you know, facility upgrade.
But that's what I was gonna say, if we're gonna pull stuff, we need to be putting some beautification back into it.
It'd be nice to know pull it, see what it looks like. I mean, there's some, you know, after pulling some of the evergreens on the Riverwalk, it's like, okay, that's nice, let's just leave it for now, you know, but I don't think this is the place to discuss the details of it, but I think, obviously, it seems like the board is interested in having some discussions about the marina, so. But we do need to figure out where we're going with this. If you want to readjust that proposal, I think that would be nice for some more visible areas, especially next summer. How do we want to treat this appropriations proposal for $8,000?
Has there been a motion made?
No.
Then you can just table the discussion.
Everybody okay with tabling this? Okay. Maybe we can have some budget numbers next meeting. Okay.
We'll work on a better
Okay.
information.
Facade grant?
Okay, so we added this below. There's been a good deal of work on facade grants in the last month and a half. So with the new fiscal year, as you'll recall, there is $50,000 available for this fiscal year grant round. It's a 50% match that's reimbursable. What we've done, we've had a number of applications that came in anticipation before the previous fiscal year ended. So we're keeping those folks informed of what we're doing. But we have adjusted the grant application to reflect timing issues, because we're going to be hopefully approving grants in October, so that they can work next spring on potential work on the buildings. We won't ask them to do it in December and January. That makes very little sense. We have also implored them, the applicants, to reach out to the HDC, but not require their approval from HDC before getting or receiving a grant. It is still dependent upon if they need to get an HDC approval. It's up to the applicant. So we're streamlining our decision-making processes and making it easier for applicants to apply and to receive the grant. They still have to do the homework and following the rules, but they will be they will be required to do that, that work. We will, and have put out already information that the grants are open until September 30th, and inform the previous grant applicants to review the new grant application and to abide by those terms. And we are live with information on the website and social media posts. Because of the changes to the grant application to kind of conform with the rules and the direction of making it easier, we'd like to ask the DDA board members to review the document that you have, make any suggestions to me personally, if revisions that are necessary or if you think there are any changes, and then we'll adjust that on the fly and make sure that everyone understands before decisions are made in October what, if any, additional changes are made. So we're trying to do this quickly so we can be kind to the applicants and get the money out. But that is our approach moving forward. So please take a look and let me know what you think.
So would you like people to submit any recommendations or comments in regards to this prior to the September meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Take it home, read it.
Take it home and read it.
Email Mark.
Well, let me do one other thing. I'd like to point out a few of the changes that are here. So the application is shorter. I took out the HTC processes, but still kept in the expectation you're going to reach out and contact them. We also adjusted the criteria, the scoring for the grants. We took a little bit away from community contribution. It was subjective that, the score for whether the applicant was a good neighbor. We put that into impact so that it was a little clearer, scored higher what they were going to do to the property, but still remain, the community contribution still remains. Just so we can take away some subjectivity and also avoid any issues with, well, you obviously don't like me, so that's why you didn't give me the points. So that's why we took that down a peg or two. And then, we have the updated contact information for the planning and zoning administrator, and Mark Fetters still remains in there so that they can apply for those approvals. That's what I wanted to cover with you because there was a slight change there. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. With that, public comment?
Yes.
Please. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad you brought up about the dumpster fire. I was going to bring that up myself. Mark, or Jeff, are we going to do anything with that walk that comes up from the river walk up to the parking lot by the insurance and to the denture, the barber's shop there? I was on that the other day and it's got a kind of rough stone surface or something.
Is it appropriate for me to answer?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So as you recall, last year, there was some structural issues, there were some structural issues with the switchback from the DDA parking lot. One issue was that there was erosion, and we have fixed that portion. The other portion is due to the high water, it appeared that some of that structure was slipping or tipping towards the river. So what we did was remove the sidewalk to ensure that it was safe. We put gravel in on a temporary basis, and then we've got our engineers monitoring it to make sure that if it continues to move, then we know we need to replace it. And if it doesn't move and they're comfortable with that, then we'll at that point, we'll pour the sidewalk.
We had the bushes growing over and all that too. man.
Yep, and those were the Japanese knotwood. Those got treated, and they look terrible because they were so big and they're dead and brown. We had been advised by the Invasive Species Network in the past not to touch them even when they were dead. There's some different personnel there, so when I recontacted them early this summer, they said it was okay to remove those, so we removed them. And then I've got it on the city council agenda for next Tuesday to approve the annual contract with them. So typically they treat them at the end of August, 1st of September, if more has come back out.
That was just on that. Thanks, Jim. Another thing is, I don't know if anybody gotten any word when they were buried in, but I've gotten a lot of calls. People say, would they speak louder at the meetings because we can't hear them if we're listening at home and all that. I said, I'll bring it up and just tell everybody.
The last several meetings, Barry's put out microphones, so
Right.
I think that's been taken care of.
But they're still complaining. So I just said, I'll bring it to you guys, up to you.
I'll give you an old phone number for them to call.
Yeah. Also, the last thing is, if you didn't notice that the court has awarded the store downtown here to go on till October with remodeling. I kind of raised a little hell last night at the city council. I think 20 years of doing this is ridiculous, and I kind of expressed my opinion, and so we'll see where that goes. I told the lawyers I'd like to testify in court and tell the judge, because the judge said he goes through town and looked at it and gave me till October to finish the job and what we can give fines and all that. But I mean, I still get calls from everybody about what it looks like down there, and I think the DDA should be really concerned because it impacts us all. So I thought I'd bring it down to you, because I was gonna talk to Mark about that too. So I just think it's a lousy looking scenery down there. I mean, he puts up some scaffolding for one day, takes it down, and he wants me to come down there and look what he did. And of course, George said to me, why don't you look at it, Jim? They've done $100,000 worth of repairs upstairs, but it isn't helping us on River Street, what's going on. Then we got a building across the street here that they own also. So I just say, let's get done with this stuff.
Did the court specify October of 2022, or, I mean, what year, okay? 'Cause-
I mean, we've extended it how many times?
The way that-
Historical Society, DDA, everybody, the state got involved, and I mean, we're still sitting with the same problem.
Yeah,
The way the city attorney updated us at our staff meeting yesterday was they had to appear before the judge. The judge has held off on a ruling until October, just like Jim said, to give them a little more time.
But I like to testify to that and say, hey, come on, Judge, we've done this 20 years now. Let's get going. I mean, either you get somebody in there and helps to finish this thing, or the city takes some initiative and try to do something.
Any other public comment?
Mr. Chair, my name is Sammy Lukaskevitz. I'm the new executive director of the Manistee County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Just wanted to come by and introduce myself. I'm taking the opportunity during public comment and hoping Mark doesn't throw me any questions. But, to meet everyone.
Challenge accepted.
Introduce myself, meet folks like you, and just learn about how we can work together, so.
Glad you're here.
welcome.
Yeah.
And I'll be working with you
Yeah.
soon, so.
Thanks, Sammy. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming and introducing yourself. Looking forward to working with you.
And I could just say that I've known Sammy for a number of years. She previously worked at Crystal Mountain. We are very excited that she's at the CBB and will take a strong leadership role in our community. So no hard questions today, Sammy. I know I can ask them, but I'm really happy you're here, and I think that goes for all of us. So thanks for stopping by.
It's my pleasure.
It's also noted that you have been making the rounds strongly to make stronger connections with the community, like showing up for meetings. So I just want to point that out. She's hit the ground running and only been on the job for a month and a week. And so we're really happy to have her, and she's going to be a great partner.
I live in Manistee. I live right on the river on the other side. So I face the marina. I can swim to my dentist's office. I've been there since 2019 full-time. And working at Crystal, I really feel, because I drove 40 minutes every day to work, I put a lot of roots down in Thompsonville and North. So it's been fantastic to be able to get to know Manistee, get to know the county, see all the different community members, and see that everybody's really working towards something really great for this community. And I just love being a part of it. So thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Barry?
Actually, sitting back listening to this meeting, I've got now kind of a laundry list of things to talk about.
I'll get my pen out.
First being, I just want to add a comment on the Rosemary buildings and those issues. I think everybody needs to step back and think about what the future is going to hold in that process, because the orders and the jurisdiction that the city really has is really just on the facade. So sometime soon, hopefully, we'll have windows and a facade, but we're going to have empty buildings for probably another 15 years. And it's not going to materially change things, because you're going to have very not nice looking buildings when you walk by. Yes, the glass and paint and all those things, but the interiors will be not very nice. And the time frames that they do things, and again, the quality of the work they do is excellent. Time frame is generally the issue of the community. So it's not like it's magically going to be done and over. This will be a problem for 10 more years. I will mention that way back, probably 10 years ago, this group, the DDA, had investigated and actually was at the point of potentially making a recommendation to City Council about getting council or the city to introduce a vacancy ordinance, which basically, it was modeled after other communities, which basically start kicking in financial incentives for buildings that are vacant for extended periods of time. And I think that maybe something like that is something that should be considered. And it's not only those buildings, but it's potentially an issue throughout the district. So I just want to mention that this is not going to suddenly end 3 months from now, 6 months from now. It's going to be an ongoing issue.
Thank you, Barry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Barry, do you have any good examples of communities with a vacancy ordinance?
I was
know it's a long
not part
time
of
ago.
that committee that was working on that.
Okay.
That was something Lee Trucks was actually heading up at that time, so it's been a long time since he's been on this board. But
Okay. Well, I know how to track him down. I think I might ask him. Okay, well that's that. And I just want to maybe jump back while I've got the floor and thank Councilmember Grabowski for letting us know about the recent court proceedings. I have had contact with Jeff Gordon about his vision and asking him what's next, and we can try to help him from the economic development standpoint. And I'm waiting for Jeff to get back to me on sitting down meetings. So I think knowing that the court has done what it's done, that maybe now's a good time to try one more time and reach out to Jeff Gordon and see if he'll come in and sit down and talk about what's next for the
Jeff has
building.
invited me to come down with Jermaine Sullivan, and if you have contact, I'd like to go with you down there, Mark, and look through see what we can do to help him. I mean, I would like to see him get some help in there to finish that up for us.
Okay, will do. I'll see if I can get some communication.
I'll contact him too.
I think we've moved on to board member comments. Oh, you got more, Barry, I'm
That was
sorry.
just his first one.
Number two, and Jeff touched on this earlier, but for the first time ever, I've needed to pull weeds in the pavers in front of my building. Jeff mentioned weeds in the context of the Riverwalk, but I think River Street is also an issue, so I don't know if that direction you've given to your staff also includes River Street, but there are a lot of weeds in River Street too.
I didn't hear you say just Riverwalk. Is that what you intended?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
We're now telling the kids they need to pull them.
Right.
The stuff that are in the brick pavers and in the parking lots, we had suspended treating those, and we've resumed treating those again.
Can I ask what you treat them with?
We're treating those with Roundup.
Anything else, Barry?
Yes. So this ties back to the topic Mark brought up earlier about dumpster corrals. So since I was involved with the design committee when that original project happened, we weren't thinking West End at the time, but we were thinking the issue on the East End. And it was the intention that the DDA would be requesting as part of the Gateway project, that project also incorporates dumpster corrals for that end as part of that project. And as people and staff turn over, I just want to make sure that that concept for those on the DDA that are part of those TIF negotiations, brownfield negotiations, that is still part of the design. Otherwise, we'll be having the same conversation a few years from now of, okay, now we've got all this new infrastructure down there, where do they put their garbage?
Yeah, good point.
Next thing is with regards to the social district. So from my perspective, this year, the social district is basically non-existent. In the establishments I've been into, there's no promotion of it. My questions or concerns really start from our banners downtown. In the middle of the pandemic, putting up those banners, advertising this new thing, the social district, perfect. I think that was appropriate. Now we're on year 2 of the banners. I think they're getting stale. I'm not sure that they are really the best use of that space to promote our downtown. The banners are 2 years old. They're probably not going to last a third year. Because they're for the social district, we're not then employing banners on all of the poles that we have banner racks on. So therefore, you get down to the marina and it looks like, well, what's going on? They kind of forget to put banners up. So just as you're planning for next year and budgeting, you've got to be thinking about what is going to be that downtown River Street appearance next year. And I think social district banners might be past their prime. But for the social district itself, I think if you as an organization who kind of instigated it, wanted to continue, someone needs to be responsible for it. Getting promotion materials in there, getting the establishments, getting, just something, because, I go into these places and there's no mention of it, except maybe a sticker on the front window, and that's it. That's, why bother at that point? And then the last comment is, listening to the conversation about Riverwalk landscaping improvements. I see frustration, and I just would encourage you to, as a board, to step back and figure out what is the right process of doing this. From my perspective, you need a plan. You need a multi-year plan. You can't do this piecemeal. You can't have really the conversation only happening at a board meeting that happens once a month. You need a committee, you need some organized way of getting this more formalized, because without the ability of directing staff to do it, because it's not part of that contract, you've got to come up with a process that's going to work, because it just doesn't seem like it's working very efficiently right now. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Barry. Board member comments?
Can we go back to invoices very quickly?
Okay.
Could we reimburse Mary Jo Gordon for doing the butterfly garden? She has spent $319.48 on plantings and paint for the butterfly. It was all out of her pocket, that's okay.
I'm sorry, I
That's
forgot
okay,
that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So would the
It's-
check be cut?
It's
soon?
under $500, so it does not need to be approved. We can have a check cut, and I can come down and sign it, and we can
Okay.
get one other signer.
And the other thing was, I had made a request for 2 Adirondack chairs in the art park. They're $400 each. I would like 2. Actually, it comes up to $878. I don't know if that is something that the board would be willing to approve or not.
Do we still have a quorum?
Yeah.
Yes.
You what?
I just have a question on that. Isn't the art park privately owned?
Yes. But the Adirondack chairs could be moved just as the shade structure can be removed.
Okay.
I would say that you could make a motion if you wanted to. 'cause-
Well, I would like to make a motion to purchase 2 Adirondack chairs for the art park on River Street.
Support?
Motion and support, discussion? Do we know where this is coming from budget-wise?
It will come out of that DDA projects line,
Okay.
the 20,000. What's the total amount on the
878.
878?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.